Hi everyone, I'm Dr. Hannah Slack, a researcher in the psychology department here at King's College London.
Hi everyone, I'm Faiza, a third year psychology student at King's on a placement currently. I've worked with the You Belong project over the summer as part of King's undergraduate research fellowship.
In this video, we'll be going over some of the key ideas around students' belonging and loneliness at the start of university. We're going to start by thinking about what the transition into higher education is really like for young people. We'll then share some of our findings from our You Belong survey into loneliness and belonging in first-year undergraduate students. I'll then hand over to Faiza, who will tell us about her work exploring students' social experiences. We'll then end with some actionable steps and key takeaways. So without further ado, we'll get started. So beginning the journey into higher education is often described as one of the most transformative experiences that a young person can go through, but it can also be one of the most challenging. Academic pressures, financial worries, and the transition to a more independent lifestyle all contribute to a complex landscape of student mental health. Despite these changes, university is often portrayed as a social haven, a place where you'll find your people and build lifelong friendships. However, the reality can be quite different. With student numbers growing year by year, it's easy to feel like a small fish in a big pond. Finding your people, that sense of belonging, can feel increasingly difficult. One of the most significant changes at this time is the shift in social networks and support systems. Moving to university often means leaving behind pre-established connections, friends, family, and community networks that have previously offered support. The struggle to stand out from the crowd, alongside the loss of those pre-established support circles, make it unsurprising that 1 in 4 students report feeling lonely all or most of the time. We know that loneliness can have serious consequences, predicting not only decreased academic performance, but also poorer physical and mental health amongst students. So what drives this feeling of loneliness? One theory suggests that a mismatch between expected and actual social connections could be what's driving this. Students arrive at university with certain expectations about what their social lives will look like, often driven by popular films and stories of others, expectations that may not actually align with reality. Now, whilst this mismatch theory makes sense, it hadn't actually been put to the test, which left us with a limited understanding of the root cause of student loneliness or how to intervene effectively. In our UK-wide longitudinal survey, we asked 329 first-year undergraduate students about their social life and mental health in both the first and second years of university. We found that around a quarter of students reported feeling lonely often or always. Additionally, over 30% of students said that they had felt anxious and struggled to control worrying on more than half the days within the past 2 weeks. In the same time frame, over 20% of students said they felt depressed and experienced little interest or pleasure in doing things on almost half the days. Overall, a substantial proportion of our student sample appeared to be feeling lonely and struggling with their mental health, and this matches what we've seen reported in other places too. Now, how did their expectations of their university social life contribute to this? Well, we found that when students entered university having lower expectations for their social life, they experienced greater loneliness, greater anxiety symptoms by the second semester of university. Likewise, the bigger the difference in what students expected versus what they experienced in terms of their social connections, the greater their loneliness, the lower their sense of belonging, and the greater their anxiety and depression symptoms. All in all, this suggests that if students' expectations for social connection at the start of university are higher than what they ultimately experience, then they're at a greater risk of loneliness, a lack of belonging, and poorer well-being. So building on this, I'm now going to hand you over to Faiza, will discuss some of the exciting work that she's been doing around student social experiences. Based on that, we'll then end with some ideas about what students and universities can do to improve student social connections and ultimately help prevent student loneliness.
Hello again, everyone. So over the summer, as part of my Curve project, I was studying how students draw on a range of social and cultural ideas to articulate their social experience at university and the sense of belonging. The You Belong team had interviewed 30 first-year students from across the UK. In these interviews, students shared and spoke about their own university experience through photos and videos that they felt resonated their social experience. I analyzed 6 of these interviews as a preliminary analysis to identify common ideas. Based on our findings, we found that there are a range of different yet interconnected social cultural factors that played a role in shaping students' social experience. First of all, location of the university. Those in a campus university like Sussex or Warwick have a very different experience from those based in city universities like King's or UCL. Different courses also have different course structures, meaning different workloads and flexibility, which impact how much social time students get. Financial differences also are a key factor where different students have different capacities and not everyone can do everything. Living situation is a key factor where social experiences differ between students who commute, live in shared accommodation, or at home. Age is also a key influencing factor where first-year students typically are the youngest in the university community and they might have added difficulty in feeling confident or finding their place. On the other hand, mature students may struggle socializing with others who are much younger to them. Not everyone likes alcohol and partying, and students who do not drink or enjoy late-night socializing feel particularly isolated because their social avenues seem to be limited. And lastly, group and individual factors also play a role where individuals' own interests, backgrounds, abilities, comfort zones, etc., and the group's relationships, values, and beliefs impact students' social experience. Diving deeper into the data, we've identified 6 common ideas or themes in how students understand or interpret their own social experience. First of all, socializing is a process of trial and error. Often in building connections and creating a community at university, the initial efforts to connect may not always result in lasting relationships. A student said that it is quite a unique experience, so I just kept that in mind and then it wasn't so bad. So students need to keep an open mind and be open to this trial and error. Secondly, staying connected to the roots was highlighted as being valuable. One student expressed how they are still connected to their friends back home who were a solid support system for them. Others found it helpful to find elements that reminded them of home in their new town and city. Students also need a community at the university who share their own experiences. Knowing that others have a similar experience makes it less isolating for students. Social media also came out as both a help and a hindrance. Students said that it can be isolating to see others having the time of their lives while you were struggling, and that sets the unrealistic expectations. On the other hand, when people share the reality, it seems to help. Like, for example, in exam periods, everyone is posting about studying even when they're on vacation. Fifth point is that freshers experience a very unique challenge as it is a key transition phase, like Hannah just described, and it can be very difficult to feel confidence and find your own place when you're young and not fully prepared. A student said that the beginning was really difficult and not a lot of people talk about it. They don't tell you stuff that is not good. And lastly, building a socially enriching experience is not only the university's responsibility, but a shared one, where both students and universities have to make an active effort to make it work. Using all of these themes and what students told us about how they improved their time at university and what more they would want universities to do, we have drafted a few recommendations or actionable steps for both students and universities. So, first of all, what is it that students can do to have an enriched social experience? Number 1, students need to have an open mindset and actively work towards personal growth by breaking out of their comfort zone, eliminating unrealistic expectations, and reaching out to find opportunities instead of waiting for opportunities to come to them. Secondly, students who manage their time well tend to be better able to balance their academic and social lives. Students can use weekly routine templates or even shared university spaces to keep the motivation high. It is also key to manage social media to reduce unwanted stress. And lastly, students need to make an active effort to build connections and a network. It's recommended to build a network both within and outside the university and diversify the social network through extracurricular activities and even daily tasks like cooking or studying together. With that being said, what is it that universities can do to facilitate an enriching university experience? Well, first of all, institutions need to facilitate a community building with accessibility by building online platforms, for example, where students could connect even before university starts, and by making activities and shared spaces and student support more accessible. Secondly, there's a need for an integrated support model where module leaders structure the courses to promote social integration through activities and discussions, and students are offered personalized one-on-one support throughout the year. Having smaller cohorts can help with this. Lastly, a lot of the universities already have several of these offerings in place, like personal tutor systems or student support, but very little awareness about it. So universities need to work on making comprehensive welcome pack and well-rounded induction resources, which create awareness about the support available and prepare students about the potential hurdles of university life. It is also important that the support services offered are responsive and proactive. After having said all of that, a quick summary of what this all means. First of all, if students' expectations of social connections at the start of the university are higher than their experience, there's a greater risk of loneliness, lack of belonging, and poor well-being. Secondly, the student's social experience at university is influenced by a range of different yet interconnected sociocultural factors. And lastly, both students and universities need to come together and make a collaborative and active effort to improve academic and social success at university. Thank you all for listening to us. Here is a list of the references and our contacts if you'd like to get in touch.